Hello, I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to more CSGO news. This will be a brief recap episode of the Major in the past 3 weeks. I want to talk about surprises, upsets. You guys can give your thoughts and opinions down below as well. It's going to be an open forum video for us to all share of our thoughts the past 3 weeks, all the crazy things that have happened. So that will be this video. If you guys are looking for CSGO news, all of the crazy stories, the post-major roster shuffles are underway. Some hints at roster shuffles as well are coming very, very soon. That video will be out in 2 to 3 hours after this video does go live. But I just want to talk about everything that's happened this past weekend. An amazing CSGO Major, and with that, in celebration, I will be giving away 100 CSGO Major capsules. That giveaway, as well as the knife giveaway, will be linked down below if you guys want to enter. And again, an investment video will be coming soon as well. But for today, a brief Major recap video. In this video and our next video on this channel will be CSGO news with some crazy things happening. But I want to talk about Astralis and ENCE, and then we'll get into upsets and surprises of this Major so far. The past 3 weeks have been just another amazing time for CSGO. And yes, I had to wear the Astralis jersey. I know you guys saw it coming. If ENCE did pull it off, if you guys are here for spoilers, I'm so sorry. You should have watched CSGO Major this past week or the past 21 days of CSGO Major action. If ENCE would have won, I would have won their jersey, of course. But either way, Astralis, I think we can all agree, or at least a majority of us agree, they are now the #1 team, the single best team to have ever played Counter-Strike in its history. These guys, again, back-to-back majors, I think 11 or 12 titles in the past 14 months. It's been an absolutely insane ride to see how consistent these guys are, and the scary part is it really should continue. I think a great tweet by Nell really points out the current state of CSGO. Liquid really struggling this major. I think we'll still see a rise in them, hopefully, if Stewie is the right pick for that roster. Teams like MIBR looking very consistent. Yes, yet again, a top 3 team with that core. We'll see how they work out. Besides those 2 teams, though, Navi never showing up. Along with that, other teams out there, big surprise teams this time around, right? No one saw Renegades or ENCE coming. As of right now, Astralis should be safe, especially with post-major roster shuffles. It only strengthens their #1 results. And again, throughout this major and again throughout the past 12 months, they dropped one map the entire major run, and that was the same map. They had a 12-3 lead, a team that never blows leads ever, or typically not one of this size, especially, but we saw them blow a 12-3 lead against Renegades. Overall, even after that, they still bring it back to an overtime. They lose in overtime to Renegades, but they still dominate results-wise that best-of-3 series. That was the one map they dropped the entire major long, especially what they've gone through so far. Dupree's lost throughout this major run as well. They go back-to-back major champions, 3 overall majors now for this team, tying the record for most majors of all time with Fnatic, who have not done so, have not actually made a major finals for quite some time. So definitely the most dominant team of this era, have certified their era as well, and I cannot wait to see them in the future. And even to put it into better perspective how dominant these guys are, they 16-0 Cloud9. They nearly 16-0 NIP. They were up 15-0. It came down to a second half pistol round loss. They would have had that 16-0 against them, and arguably on Inferno, their map pick against ENCE in the grand finals, I think a lot of us had the thought they were going to 16-0 them. I believe it went to 10-0, maybe 11-0 in that series as well, but it was certainly possible. It looked very scary for a second there. This team is the most dominant CS team in history, and I'm very proud to say that. I cannot wait to see the future of these guys, and when the fall off will be, I don't think any of us can see. But let's talk about ENCE. These guys and their story speaks for itself. I know a lot of you guys follow these people as well. This roster who's been together not even shy of a year, or right around that year mark as well. What they did here was nothing short of a miracle, and it made the entire major that much better. It was a lot like Cloud9, a lot of references back there to Cloud9 and their Boston run. In my opinion, of course, it does not end in a major title. This run, though, is equal to that, if not just all the more miraculous, because these guys come all the way from the European minor, the toughest minor, not even close, the toughest minor by a lengthy shot to come out of. They win that minor, and still, even then, myself included, I think you guys can hopefully agree with some of the things I say here. I was not fully proven by these guys when they made it out of the European minor. They had convinced me a little bit, but even throughout the challenger stage, these guys had not really convinced me of who they were and the potential this roster certainly had. So they make it out of the European minor, they win over there. I thought potentially, even possibly a fluke, a stroke of luck for this roster, and they continued throughout the challenger stage because they went 3-1. They only beat teams like Winstrike and G2 in best of ones. You know, nothing too spectacular, nothing you would not expect of them to at least do as a top 15 team in the world currently at that time. And they also beat Winstrike in a best of 3, arguably a struggling roster, a bottom 5 ranking roster in that challenger stage of Winstrike. And so they make it through the legend stage for the first time ever. And still, I hope that we can agree on this. I was not really fully impressed yet. I really did not expect them to go through to playoffs, although a lot of you guys actually had them in your pick'ems. I was not high hopes on ENCE even up to that point. And when they started out 0-2, I thought, okay, this is actually where I expected them to be. I fully had fledged and thought that, and especially when it goes to their first best of 3 elimination matchup. I still think people do not realize how close these guys were being to not even being in the major whatsoever. They were going to go out in the legendary stage. They start out 0-2. They are one best of 3 loss from being eliminated, and unfortunately enough, they could have been back to the European minor. Now, they actually managed to come back against Big. They lose map 1 dominantly. It was terrible. Big looked fully in control and did so on train. They go into map 2. Big has a 7-0 lead. They are on the midst of actually eliminating ENCE from the major. ENCE come back for the first time in a 16-14 victory and then take map 3 as well. They take down Big. We'll talk about surprises later on. Big go 0-3. ENCE survive 1-2. Then they take down G2. Then they take down a Vanguard. And all of a sudden, ENCE are in the playoffs for the first time ever. And it's pretty shocking to see a comeback from an 0-2 team, a lot like Cloud9 did at Boston, eventually leading to a major title. But unfortunately enough for ENCE, they meet up with a world contending team right away in the quarterfinals, number 2 Liquid, who looked pretty strong. You know, ENCE of course take map 1, but it's actually all Liquid on map 2. They go up 15-8 on Inferno. And the curse begins here. ENCE bring it all the way back from a 15-8 down on their T side, right? We've known them for their T side throughout the major itself. They come back all the way, win it in overtime. And if Liquid, arguably, right, ENCE take map 1, but still, either way, if Liquid take this map 2, I would say anything besides that overtime, if they would have taken it, you know, 16-9, 16-10, even 16-11, they had the momentum going forward to map 3, but ENCE closed them out there. They take map 1, they take them down on a comeback on Inferno, insanely doing so. And they 2-0 the number 2 team in the world, just to be matched up with the number 3 team in the semifinal, that being Nautis Vincere. Just like Liquid, many people out there thinking potentially if they really show up and actually meet their player ceilings, a team that actually could take the major title if possible against Astralis, and they look very dominant. Na'Vi right out of the gate, guys, looking very strong. They go up 13-9 on train. You think, oh, it's all Na'Vi's map, but yet again, a miraculous comeback by ENCE. It's just time and time again, yet again, another 16-14 eventual comeback for this team. They take train, but they do so just barely, and Na'Vi knows they should have had that map, much like Liquid should have had their map number 2 as well. Besides that, though, it goes to Dust 2, and Na'Vi dominate this map, and you think, okay, they go 16-3, they beat ENCE on Dust, momentum has to be theirs for map 3, and unfortunately enough, we saw one of the biggest breakdowns, I would say, in major history. I believe at one point in time, up 12-6 on this Mirage pick for Na'Vi. Up 12-6 in a semifinal map 3, and you think there's no way to blow this, right? A little throwback for a few fans out there of some teams who have done similar things. You know, Liquid having their chokes at some point in time on the same map as well, this being Mirage. Na'Vi blow a 12-6 lead. Once again, for the 3rd time in their miraculous run, ENCE come back from at least 6 rounds down to a 16-14 victory on map 3 over Na'Vi. They take down the number 2 and number 3 team in the world. They come from the European minor. They're in the face of elimination against Big, down 1 map and down 7-0 on map 2. They survive from an 0-2 start, take down number 2 and number 3 in the world to face off not only their first ever playoff, not only their first ever semifinal, but their first ever grand final major appearance to take on the number 1 team in the world. Unfortunately enough, I think we expected this, right? We expected Astralis to come out very strong, and they did so. Astralis dominates, right? A semi-close map 1. I necessarily would kind of disagree with that. Astralis just proving why they're the number 1 team in the world. But either way, you cannot argue this ENCE run was absolutely beautiful. And I hope these guys stick together, and I think they certainly will be an all-finish lineup since their start. I don't see any changes coming their way in the near future. Either way, it was just... honestly, what I saw, it was just beautiful. Anyway, I feel like I just got lost there talking about those results. It was amazing to see, right? And a major we expected to see, especially when it came from Astralis being such a dominant team. Either way, though, I think it's great. It was a great major. If it would have been any other team to be 2-0'd by Astralis, I think it would have been boring. But just seeing those guys in the grand final, to me, was simply amazing. Besides that, though, I want to talk about biggest surprises and biggest upsets. I'm very curious what you guys think about this because I think there are some standouts for both these categories. The first of which being biggest upsets. Our 5 lowest ranking Legend Stage teams all keep their major spots. Complexity, number 1 of all, they actually, I think, showed a lot of potential here. I still think some roster changes will be coming in the near future for them. Cloud9, Winstrike, a Vanguard, G2, your 5 single lowest ranked teams by teams that actually rank them, right? Remember, these teams actually ranked other teams to get the seeding for this event. The 5 lowest ranked teams in those teams all keep their major spots, and with that being the biggest upset, Big and RG both go 0-3. Absolutely unpredictable. Maybe you got one of those right by a simple guess. No way you guys would have predicted both those teams to go 0-3. Some huge shocks there. And again, we talk about G2 potentially making changes in the near future. Cloud9 already seemingly making changes. We'll talk about that in our CSGO news episode. I think Winstrike might try and stick it out, but maybe see some Flipside members go alongside them. Complexity, I still think, like I said previously, maybe making some future roster changes because nothing is not going to be a permanent member for that roster. And you guys seem to be heavily defending of Ricky on the roster, but still I think many improvements can be made for those teams. Vanguard probably going to keep the same, but we're definitely going to see some major changes out there for many teams out there, and I'm excited to see who those teams exactly will be. And now we're just left with a lot of questions out there, right? What teams are going to make changes? Yeah, we can leave our guesses. You guys can leave your guesses. I've already said my thoughts so far, and I think the ultimate real question, besides some other teams out there, I think Na'Vi is definitely the big question mark. We've seen many tweets about this. I think Simple had still an amazing major. That guy gave it his all, and we're just not surrounded by it. I think the entire team had their moments, though. We even saw Zeus fragging, and it really leaves the door open for will this team make changes, because time and time again, these guys have proven they cannot show up when the moment comes to a semifinal or a grand final. And I really do feel bad for the guys. Simple, what an amazing CS player to be around in this era, right? Within hours of their devastating loss, blowing that huge lead on map 3 to lose their chance at a grand final to major, Simple was already streaming on Twitch within a few hours afterwards. And a legendary player, I think Zeus had a fairly good event. We even saw Flaming Edward really showing up as well for the roster. Electronic, I would honestly say, was a bit subpar from what we've seen in the past. I can't really nail down a problem for this team except for an overall macro problem for them. But either way, there's going to be a lot of teams making changes out there, and I cannot wait to see what players go where. But as always, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the brief major recap of what we saw. I'm very curious what you guys think about biggest surprises or biggest upsets, about Astralis' dominant run, about ENCE's miracle run. It was so fun to watch. And again, I already cannot wait for the next major coming this summer. But as always, I hope you guys all enjoy. My name is Jake. I'll see you back here in 2 to 3 hours with the important stuff. That being CSGO news. Some big changes are coming, and some big changes have already happened. Until next time, guys, I'll see you then.